to talk quarterbacks. Two former MVPs, both battling some tough injuries right now. The Panthers are shutting down Cam Newton with that bad shoulder injury he's been playing through. Also, Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers has a groin injury that he has been fighting through, but he will play this week. Packers will be here in New York facing off against the Jets. Here's what Aaron Rodgers had to say about playing this Sunday.
It's a lot about leadership. You know, if I want to, be listened to and followed and looked up to, how could I stand here and say that, these games that don't matter for playoffs, I'm going to cash it in. It's just not the way I lead, and I'm super competitive, and I want to be out there with the guys, and I look forward to being out there.
I think we had a very interesting conversation about this yesterday, whether it should be up to the player or the coach, whether it's better for the player or for the betterment of their career. What do you make of what both teams decided to do with their respective quarterbacks?
Well, I think it really comes down to what the medical profession says, and it comes down to, can you further your injury? If you've got a somewhat of a groin pull, I mean, players want to play, and players are going to go out and play, and it comes down to the medical staff. If Cam Newton's shoulder is such that we need to have surgery on this thing, and you're doing further damage, you're irritating it more and doing further damage, and you have whatever he has, I don't know, could be a torn labrum, it could be something else. If you're going to do further damage to it and create degenerative changes in that shoulder joint, like, we have too much invested in you to allow you to go out there and play. And there's a big difference between struggling, and he has struggled for the last month with that shoulder, and having, a groin pull. And so there's a huge difference there, and it comes down to each individual. I totally agree with Aaron Rodgers, and I guarantee you Cam Newton would go out and play. He would go out and play, and he would have the same kind of attitude. I'm going to go out there and play. He's done it for the last month, last 6 weeks, or whatever it is. So, it comes down to, are you going to do further damage? You are invested. And think about this. Now, every rule that has been made in the National Football League here in recent years has been made to protect the quarterback, to protect that investment, and also to create offense. And if you're looking at yourself as our franchise quarterback is going to struggle and maybe need surgery or need something done to his shoulder, the investment that we have in him, we're just not going to let him play. I totally understand it.
Well, and yesterday, CC, you said, or you asked almost rhetorically, is Cam Newton more important than the right guard? And for the organization, the answer actually has to be yes. For the organization, they have to look at Cam and any potential to further an injury as, wait, the juice is not worth the squeeze here. And so for Cam did the right thing. He, by all accounts, fought to play. That he said, I want to play, I want to be out there. But the organization, I believe, did the right thing in saying, we are not making the playoffs. And by the way, even if it's as bad as it looked on this past Monday night, even if they were alive for the playoffs, the argument might be, you need to shut him down. We have seen quarterbacks. I think one of the reasons Andrew Luck missed a full year is because he was trying to play through something instead of dealing with it and addressing it when he needed to. The Rodgers thing to me is a totally separate discussion. And by the way, Aaron Rodgers, who I think is as good as any quarterback I've ever seen, he's being a little unfair when he says I wouldn't shut it down with nothing to play for. Like last year, he came back from a collarbone injury. They lost that game. They got eliminated from the playoffs, and then the team shut him down because they didn't want him to do further damage. A similar situation to Cam. So I understand why Rodgers isn't getting shut down. He has a groin pull, like you were saying. Cam is a thrower of the football, and he could do more damage to his arm throwing the football. So while I know he wants to play, the organization, it's their job to say, it's not your choice, Cam Newton.
It is the organization's job in the long term to look out for their products, the people they're putting money in. But the organization has also told Cam Newton, you're the face of this franchise. You're the leader of this franchise. And this is something only being in the locker room you're going to understand. If you take me off the field, you take away my ability to lead. Because there's two ways that guys lead. They either talk or what they do. And I used to tell guys, because guys get tired of guys who are chirping all the time. Guys who are just running their mouth all the time. It's hard to follow guys like that. So what I used to tell guys is, regardless of what I say, I want you to watch me and watch how I come to work. Watch how we lose games. Watch how I do the interviews. Watch how I train the next day. Watch how I watch film. Watch how long I stay. Watch how many jugs I catch. Watch how many hills I run. Watch how many sprints that I run. Watch how many times that I'm not late to work. You lose your ability when you're off the field to lead guys in the locker room. I understand what the organization is doing, but Cam's got a job to do. And if Cam had told them, no, I'm more important, no, I don't need to be in there, would you send a message the wrong way and you lose the ability to lead guys long term? So I understand what the organization has done. I understand that. But that star player, that franchise player, he's got a job to do, and that's to always to lead. And when guys can't hear you, guys can see you. And you never want to be able to lose that ability because guys see through it. With coaches, organization, the players in the locker room, they see through that phoniness. And I believe in Green Bay, there's a lot of phoniness there. The players see through it. The coach has gotten fired. That's the only reason why Aaron Rodgers is out there, because last year he was in the same situation, and he was like, no, these games aren't important, and I am more important than those other players. But the other players, their careers are just as important. They should be to you.
Sure.
They're that important to me. That's the reason why I play in the preseason. I asked the offensive coordinator, what do you need from me this week? He said, Chris, we don't need that much. How long's the offensive line playing? How long's Randall McDaniel playing? And I always use him as an example because he's one of the greatest players I ever played with. And I used to say, I'm not going to be in there as long as the quarterback. I'm going to be in there as long as Johnny Randall is in there, as long as Randall McDaniel's in there, because I'm trying to be with those guys, and I don't want them to feel like that I'm bigger than them, I'm better than them. And that's what you get into in these situations in NFL locker rooms.
Right. The leadership aspect is really important, and people do, you know, they do look at you. You know who the players are. You know who the guys that are real are. And you look at those guys, and I will say this, man, I spent a lot of time injured. I mean, I played, I rarely missed. Yes. But I spent a lot of time injured. But when I was injured, when I had back surgery and had to miss a few weeks, when I had, you know, a knee surgery that I had to miss a few weeks with, you do become somewhat of a pariah, if you will. You're not part of it. No. We used to always say in our room, you're dead. Like, that guy's dead. Yep. Like, he can't help us anymore. He's dead.
He's not a part of the main flow of the team. And I tell you what, it makes you feel, as a player, you're beside yourself, not being able to be out there.
Which is why we talked so much coming into the season about how Carson Wentz, no matter what he did last year, he wasn't there at the very end to really help him, and he wanted to come back and prove that he could. It was the same thing. He didn't feel like he was part of the team either.
I also think, and Stink, you and I talked about this, not behind Chris's back, Chris was sitting right there, but off the air, when the Le'Veon Bell situation was going on. And Chris was, I would kept saying, for Le'Veon, he can get hurt. And Chris talked about his philosophy was, man, I never worried about injuries.
You can blow your Achilles working out.
Right. That was, and do you remember you walked out here and you were laughing, and you were saying, man, Chris, God blessed you in so many to never think about injuries. Part of what made you see was you broke your collarbone early on. And best I can tell, no, you didn't miss time ever again until you were playing with the Dolphins and they slashed your kidneys or your whatever organ it was. And so you went a dozen years playing the style you played, and for whatever reason, we're just dancing through the raindrops, training right. You said God blessed you, whatever it was. That has given you a very, I think, unique perspective on what it means to be injured, what it does mean to miss time. But your story is an exception more than, now Stinks is an exception almost in the other direction, 29 surgeries. But does that make any sense? Like the way you look at missing time due to injuries?
But from me, I've had all these other experiences. I got just as much respect for Stink's career. I had guys that were hurt all the Robert Smith. I love Robert Smith. Man, Robert Smith, if he get in a car crash, Robert Smith's going to the hospital. That's just the way this business is. It's no disrespect to guy if he's there. Man, you do what you can. Yeah, that's my experience, but I got a world of experience with other guys. So I do have empathy. I have tremendous understanding. But at the beginning and end of the day, the best ability you got is your availability. Don't tell me how good you are. Can you play today? All right, because that's what's important. And the more you practice, the better you're going to get. The more games you play in, the better you're going to get. So, yeah, I got great experience because I didn't get hurt. Part of that's my training. At the beginning and end of the day, God bless me. He made me very, very unique. He made me an unbelievable athlete, but also coupled with focus, and I want to be out there with my teammates.
Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to. And then, you know, Chris acts like he's never been hurt. I guarantee you he's played hurt plenty. Like,
yes.
we all have to play hurt plenty. The issue is, like for Cam, we'll shut you down if you're playing hurt and you're not playing well hurt.
Yes.
Right.
Like, now, if Cam was playing well hurt,
It'd be different.
here's the deal. I played my whole career. I never played a game where I wasn't hurt.
Right.
You know, I started 100 and probably, you know, close to, with preseason and postseason, I started probably close to 200 games. There's never a game I wasn't hurt that I played. But guess what? I went out and I played well, hurt. And that's what you have to do.
I will never take another sick day off. I'm so motivated by you. My best ability is my availability.
I think your best ability is responsibility.
January 9th is the over-under.
Take summer.
There you go. I'll be here every day until that day. Coming up, can Lamar Jackson upset the Chargers? That is next on First Things First.